Hi, everybody. I am Professor Martin Block from the University of Virginia in the United States. I'm glad to be with you, and I'm going to be talking about adaptive sports programs in our public schools here in the US. So let me share my screen with you. There we go. So something that may be kind of unique to the United States, I'm not sure what happens in Turkey, but in our secondary schools, many children play sports. Here's just an example of children playing volleyball. So two secondary schools would play against each other. It's done regionally across states. There's state championships. It's just very popular to play sports. Being a member of one of these sports teams is very prestigious. Unfortunately, children with disabilities rarely participate on these team sports. So several states have gone and created unique programs. Some are at the state level, some are through just local private organizations, but there's some really clever things that have been done. So I want to share with you a couple of these things here. So the first one is in Maryland. They passed legislation back in 2008 that said that children with disabilities needed to have opportunities to participate on the regular sports teams, and if that didn't work, then they should be allowed to have their own special sports teams. And the model that they created was called Corollary Sports. So this was like a special sports program for children who couldn't participate in the regular sports program. So really interesting model here. So basically in the States, we don't have very many special schools anymore. We have special classes in a regular secondary school or regular primary school. So what they would do is they take two classes from two special classes from two secondary schools and have them compete against each other. And you see some of the sports include bocce, softball, bowling, and team handball. It's been very successful. It's gone around the state, and actually they have county tournaments and regional tournaments and even state tournaments. And the athletes get to represent their school, and they have that prestige of being on a sports team. I'm not going to have time to show you the video here, but again, you can see there's a link, and I encourage you to click on that. It shows you an example of one of these events. Here in Virginia, we have something interesting. It's called the Medford League. I believe they're changing that name, but basically, again, it's the same model where you have special classes in regular schools, and these special classes form basketball teams, and they compete against other secondary schools in the area. So just to give you an example, one of my former students, oh, I'm sorry, one of my current doctoral students ran the program in Louisa County, and they would travel to Fluvanna County, another county school, and they would play against each other. And again, we would have cheerleaders, you would have people in the stands, and it felt like a traditional secondary sports event, and it was very prestigious, and there's just some great opportunities there. So again, I have a link to a video here. I encourage you to look at that and see what they're doing there. A really great program. I love this one in California. This is done by a private organization, but it's called Team Primetime, and there's information here. But what they found was in California, there's a lot of children, we use the term at risk. That means that they're at risk for not doing well in school and running into trouble with the law because they live in very impoverished neighborhoods. There are lots of gangs in those neighborhoods. There's lots of drugs in those neighborhoods. Perhaps English isn't their primary language. And so there's some real challenges. And so what this young man did, Peter Strauss in California, said, I'm going to take these at-risk children and I'm going to pair them with children with disabilities in our local secondary schools. And they're going to form teams together, and they're going to play team sports such as flag football and soccer and volleyball and basketball, and they're going to play other schools, other high schools, other secondary schools. So he created this program and found it to be amazingly effective. These children who were at risk really took ownership for these children with disabilities and felt very committed to making sure they went to school, making sure they were buddies with these kids, making sure these kids weren't bullied in school. And they also felt a need to make sure they did well in school so they can continue to participate in this program. So we have two wonderful things that are happening. These at-risk children are doing well in school, and many of them are now graduating from high school who didn't before and going on to college. And then we have these children with disabilities who now get to play sports and have a real buddy to work with them. So the real thing about this California program is this buddy, this pairing up is really important. And the last program to talk about, again, this is a private group here, the American Association of Adapted Sports, but they have paired up with the local public schools in Georgia. And this is sports for children with physical disabilities. So unlike these other models where there's a special class, these are children who are probably in regular schools. Perhaps they have muscular dystrophy, perhaps they have a spinal cord injury, maybe they have cerebral palsy, but they're using wheelchairs, and they bring them together to participate in sports, wheelchair sports, traditional Paralympic sports. What's neat about this is that in traditional secondary sports in the States, if I don't have enough players to form a team, then we're just not going to have a team. But on the other hand, here they're saying, okay, if there's not enough children in one school with physical disabilities, we'll combine 2 or 3 schools to make a team, or we'll allow children without disabilities to participate in wheelchairs. So this is something that's done really well. It's done in cooperation with the State High School League. You can see some of the sports: wheelchair team handball, basketball, there's wheelchair football. And again, children with disabilities can participate as well. So thank you. I know this was very brief, but I just want to share with you some really interesting things that are going on in the States regarding special sports programs in schools. Thank you.